Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is April the 17th, and today many things have unfolded in regard to the war in Ukraine. There have been meetings in France. We'll talk about that. But most importantly, we're going to listen to President Volodymyr Zelensky today, making about 20 minutes worth of comments. Yes, I've broken it down into sections and I have it translated for you. Yes, China is supplying gunpowder and artillery to Russia. Yes, Zelensky does troll Witkoff and declare him ineligible to discuss Ukrainian future. Yes, the meeting in France went okay, but it's not reality. And yes, the United States now confirmed will not condemn Russia. Let's jump right to it. Thank you for being here, liking, commenting, sharing. For sure, you'll have a lot to comment about this because you're going to hear over the next 10, 12 minutes or so directly from President Volodymyr Zelensky. So here we go. He's speaking the truth. Video clip number one. The reality is, as peace is being discussed, and that's in Paris, France, we have red lines, but the reality is much different. And Witkoff is clueless and has no mandate to speak for Ukraine. Here it is, straight from Zelensky.
As I said, we're discussing an unconditional ceasefire today. We won't discuss territories until there's a ceasefire. You know my stance and our red lines. We'll never recognize our temporarily occupied territories as Russian. Third, I think Mr. Witkoff has adopted Russia's strategy. It's dangerous as he's spreading Russian narratives, knowingly or not. In any case, it doesn't help. He has no mandate to discuss Ukrainian lands. They belong to our people. Not just us, but future Ukrainians too. I don't understand what he's talking about. We heard it all, but it's Putin's nonsense. I didn't think he had people spreading these narratives in civilized countries, so I don't take it seriously.
So there you have it, President Zelensky. We have red lines. And of course, that is territorial concession. And I'm specifically speaking about the four regions, Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson, which are under massive assault. He'll talk more about that in a minute. He said Witkoff is dangerous and has no mandate. And what on earth is he talking about? He's talking about nothing but Putin's talking points. That is it. Now, one of the main reasons that you probably have clicked on this video, I'm going to get right to it now. Zelensky confirming that we now know that China supplies artillery and gunpowder to Russia, getting it from their special services, their work. They know. Here's the video.
We've learned China's supplying weapons to Russia, and we'll discuss this in detail. Today we have intel from security services about gunpowder and artillery. I think we'll be able to provide more details on this next week. Specifically, we believe Chinese reps are making weapons in Russia.
So there you have it. He confirms not only gunpowder, artillery, but Chinese reps even working in Russia to produce. More information to come on that next week. Why? Because we've got this April 20th, Russia's going to respond to Donald Trump about a ceasefire narrative that is going on, which is a bunch of baloney, and I'll share with you why in just a moment. Now, let's get to number three. Russia is the one that has broken the energy truce, not Ukraine. Now, this is very important because Foreign Minister Zakharova, she's spewing out venom today. Lavrov is spewing out venom today. And speaking of Lavrov, you guys are going to be shocked at what I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes. And well, I suggest maybe a reaction of shock would be in order. But let's get back to Zelensky talking about it's Russia breaking the energy truce.
And that ceasefire they promised, we didn't accept. Though, you know, we were open to any arrangement, but they broke it themselves, hitting Kherson and our energy sector first. Every single case. I've lost count, but that's not the issue. How often did they violate it? Numerous times. What matters is how we worked with our partners. I asked intelligence to report violations to the US in detail. We saw the document Russians sent to the US. Lavrov claimed we hit their energy sector. Well, that's not true. They're just making things up. They're quite creative, aren't they?
They're quite creative, aren't they? They're just making things up. Lavrov spewing things. And what he was stating right at the beginning, because I translated this 20-minute video, put it down into these different sections, was he was referring to they broke it. Not that Ukraine would not agree to the ceasefire, but he says we knew that they would break it because all they do is lie. Now, if you want to hear lies, I'm going to throw this one in as a bonus. This is Maria Zakharova, who is the foreign minister, Lavrov's spokesperson today. Interesting, huh? While Zelensky's giving boom, 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 boom out of Kyiv today, the meetings are happening in Paris, and Russia is pushing their narrative while Trump is sitting in D.C. talking his narrative with the Italian leaders. Here you go. Here's Zakharova.
Now about the Kyiv regime's favorite tactic and its Western handlers. Let's talk about their latest staged event. Remember how the West went into an uproar over the past few days? It was about the April 13th precision strike by Russian forces. They hit a meeting spot of Ukrainian commanders and Western advisors with a high explosive missile. This gathering was at the Magellan restaurant in Sumy.
You see, they can't even get the name of the restaurant right in the right city. The Magellan's actually in Krvoy. It's nothing but spewing lies. It's the Ukrainian regime, the Kyiv regime, staging all of this to fluff up the West and their narrative to stand against us because we're fighting to liberate. We're fighting to bring freedom and truth and hope and the new world order. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're facing this week. And those that think, oh, there's just going to be a peace and we're going to go on down the road. Sorry, there is a very complex war unfolding in front of the world's eyes. And it is not just as simple as in 24 hours, it'll be over. I'll wave my magic wand. I'll drop a sanction. I'll drop a tariff. It is not as simple as that. We are fighting for future, for freedom. We're fighting for liberty and justice, and Ukraine understands that. Now, talking about the real situation on the front, next one, the real situation on the front is an all-out assault, but our heroes are defending us. Today, Zelenskyy.
There was an important report today by Commander-in-Chief Syrsky. I'd like to thank and salute Ukraine's armed forces and security forces. Today, Russia launched an offensive towards Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine. For the most part, the 14th Brigade and 117th National Guard Brigade took the brunt of it. Ukraine destroyed 115 equipment units, killed 200, and wounded 30 enemies. We thank the armed forces for their service. Last night, they attacked in the Zaporizhia direction. The enemy lost 80 troops, 282 wounded, and 341 equipment pieces in Zaporizhia. This is what we told our partners. Russia will launch waves of attacks in Sumy, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and possibly the east. It's crucial that Ukrainian forces met them. This is very important.
Yeah, important that they met them because they would have just pushed right on through. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the truth. Russia is massing a lot of equipment and a lot of troops on the southern front, Zaporizhia line, and up north on the Sumy, Chernihiv, and Kharkiv area. In fact, Zelenskyy today saying we're seeing 60,000 troops up around Sumy being positioned. So it is extremely critical and dangerous that these messages be spread. Now, going to the 6th video clip, and unfortunately, we're going to have to go to the White House for this one, but I want to get your opinion. You know, my question is this: how do you partner with this? If you're Volodymyr Zelenskyy, if you're Ukraine, how do you partner with Donald J. Trump? Now, Trump coming out today, sitting there with the Italian leadership and giving a press conference, sitting in that office he loves to do and try to wax eloquent. He says today, well, I don't really blame Zelenskyy, but I'm not a fan. Now, wasn't it just days ago that he was saying it's all Zelenskyy's fault and it's all Biden's fault? It's all their fault. It's not Putin's fault. It's not my fault. It's all Zelenskyy's fault, and it's all Biden's fault. So he was asked about Zelenskyy, and here is the video clip.
Because, as you know, Russia's a lot bigger. It's a bigger military force.
Same narrative.
And if you're smart, you don't go involved and get involved and wars that you
Now
can blame
he's
the man
called
that was sitting in
Zelensky
this
dumb.
seat. Biden, he didn't know what the hell was going on, but I
Now
can
let's go to
guarantee you
Biden.
that, and everybody agrees to it, if I were president, that war would have never taken
Praise
place. I'm
God.
not
Let's
blaming
bow
him.
down before Trump.
But what I am saying is that I wouldn't say he's done the greatest job.
Oh.
Okay? I'm not a big
Zelensky.
fan. I really am. I'm not a big fan.
So there you have it. How are you supposed to negotiate or have a partnership? Listen, very closely. It's so easy. How, as a leader fighting for your nation, can you have a partnership with the leader of the United States who says, I'm not a fan? I'm not a fan. I don't like that guy. He's dumb. If he was smart, he would have never attacked a bigger country. Well, hello, they were invaded. What are you supposed to do? Just lay down? No. I imagine that if we were attacked by a bigger nation, who's bigger? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Military force? Okay, probably no one. Population? Area? We can look at that. Would we just lay down as America? No, we would defend ourselves as any sovereign nation should. And as Zelensky said yesterday, we're completely justified in defending ourselves, and we are producing so much equipment. It's like Zelensky already pointing and seeing the future that we could be seeing in the near term. Goodbye USA support. We'll talk about that more in the future, but also a couple of hints we're getting at it even today. Now, the last video clip I'm going to show is there is movement on the mineral deal. Trump himself saying, well, next Thursday, we're going to sign the mineral agreement. Okay. But it was being pushed. Oh, we've signed it, but it wasn't signed. There was technical conversations, and what Ukraine and the United States have agreed on is a memorandum prior to the mineral deal. So Zelensky says today, okay, we signed a memorandum. It's a first step. Why not? I'm just loving how he's wording things because he understands, he gets it, and of course, he's a great communicator. Here is Zelensky talking about the mineral deal.
First off, how are our talks going? The technical meeting was truly productive and positive. I think that's great. The meeting was held in various formats, offline in the States and online too. They've been working yesterday and today. Our Deputy PM is working with Besant's team and Besant directly. So the US side brought us back to the initial steps, as before. You know, we've all been working on a serious deal already. It needs to go through Parliament, proper procedures, and lawyers must ensure it benefits both nations. The team's technical meeting was positive, as we see both sides meeting halfway. A few days ago, the US suggested revisiting one step while lawyers work on the deal. Memorandum of intent. Our intentions are positive, we're constructive, and we're showing it. So this memorandum, not the deal itself, could be signed online today. Our side just agreed to it today. I believe the Deputy PM is now working with the US side on the text. Honestly, this memorandum seems important. It's a first step. Why not agree, right?
So why not agree, right? It's a first step. So it's a memorandum to the mineral deal. We'll see what unfolds, and that's coming directly from Zelensky himself. Now, I have a question for you. If the talks are so good going on in Paris today, and we are hearing, Trump continuing, well, we're going to hear the response of Russia, and they're going to have a April 20th Easter ceasefire. Then let's look at some other things that have happened that will lead us to what I believe there will be no ceasefire, because Russia has full intention to wage war. Their economy is based on it. Their stature in the world is based on this. They now are getting, obviously, the United States in their court, believing their narrative. So why? There is no incentive for Russia to stop waging war. This is so easy to see and so logical. But after the meetings today, President Macron stating the next round of talks to end the war in Ukraine will take place next week in London. Direct quote. So April 20th, well, that'll be after that, so you can see already projecting ahead. But that's not the big one, because this is the big one. Immediately after the meeting, this is coming directly out of the State Department. Secretary Rubio's call with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. So, ladies and gentlemen, after the negotiations or the talks in Paris, Rubio runs out of the room, picks up his phone, and calls Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, to update him. It's right here. The below is an attributable to spokesperson Tammy Bruce. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke today with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to convey to his counterpart the same message the U.S. team communicated to the U.S. delegation, European allies in Paris. So you talking about weakness. Weakness. We come out and we call Lavrov. So how is Russia spinning this? They're spinning it this way. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov received a call from the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Of course, above that, I've got the friendship shake there between Trump and Putin. According to the official statement, Lavrov confirmed his readiness to continue work on eliminating the root causes of the Ukrainian crisis. This comes back to the territories. This comes back to it's our zones, it's our oblast, it's our regions, the Kyiv regime. It's the denazification, they're Nazis, demilitarization, everything, guys. This is how Russia, and I'm sure, convinced this is exactly what they were talking about. Now, you've seen this floating around social media, and I'll close out with this. The UN condemnation, and I want you to understand, and I want to explain it to you, and I will prove it to you. The United States voted with Russia and Belarus. Well, that's bad already. They refused to vote for condemning Russian aggression against Ukraine because it does not help achieve peace. Guys, even China and Iran did not vote against. They went yellow and abstained. We're talking about the most evil terroristic nations on the planet voting together, and the United States was voting on that team. Now, if you look at this, it says item 125. It's under the purple there. Voting ended. Item 125A /79 /L.75. Cooperation between the United Nations and the Council of Europe. And you go, oh, now, it looks to me like they're voting on cooperation between the UN and the Council of Europe. So I don't understand. It doesn't say anything there about condemning. So I myself said, that's interesting. So I've done some homework for you to understand. And here it is. This is the bill, whatever they call it at the UN General Assembly, A7975, the same one. And if you scroll down to page 2, right here, here's the whole report. This is why the U.S., this is the language they didn't like, and they voted with all the other terroristic nations. It's right here. And I'll just read it to you as we close out this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. We're sharing facts, truth. ZELENSKYY. Recognizing also that the unprecedented challenges now facing Europe following the aggression by the Russian Federation against Ukraine and against Georgia prior to that, and cessation of the membership of the Russian Federation in the Council of Europe, called for strengthened cooperation between the United Nations and the Council of Europe, notably in order to promptly restore and maintain peace and security based on respect of the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence of any state, ensure the observance of human rights and international humanitarian law during the hostilities, provide redress to victims, and bring justice to all those responsible for the violations of international law, acknowledging in the connection the establishment by the Council of Europe of the Register of Damage caused by the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine. Furtherance of remedy and reparation for aggression against Ukraine, which is intended to constitute the first component of a future international comprehensive compensation mechanism, and acknowledging also the contribution of the Council of Europe to work of the core group towards the establishment of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine, and its willingness to examine public options to provide expert and technical support for the establishment and, as appropriate, operation of such tribunal. There is the exact text, and here we see it. The United States votes no with Russia, with Belarus, with North Korea, even China and Iran abstained. This is like cherry on the top. And it's a bad cherry. We see that the United States is fully in the pocket of the Kremlin. That vote, and this rhetoric, and Rubio calling Lavrov, and the statements of Zelensky, and China is now confirmed having action inside Russia. Not only soldiers in Ukraine, a few, whatever, but they're there, but actually gunpowder and artillery and helping to manufacture. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a big, big problem. And unfortunately, global leadership right now out of the White House is an absolute catastrophe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment. I look forward to reading them and responding. Be blessed. Back at you later.